Valley, hooey Hollywood. Where any office boy or young
Welcome in, everybody, to another week of That Movie Show. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe here with you to talk about movies. Eddie, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, and I really hope you keep all of that.
I kind of just petered out as I was getting into it. I was like, it's been a week anyway.
Oh, it's been a week. It's been 2 movies. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, we missed a week. I think the Snyder Cut was that fucking long that we needed to watch it over a whole week.
I watched it. I watched both of them, right? Because I watched the theatrical one, I watched the Snyder Cut, and then I finished it and processed it. Then I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Nope, wrong one. Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I keep confusing Captain America and the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Too many Winter Soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Sure. But then I needed to process all that, and then HBO Max had the audacity to tell me that I should watch it again, but this time in black and white.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
So yeah, like basically same. I watched the Snyder Cut in one sitting. Bathroom breaks and stopping to make lunch. I think the whole thing took me about 5.5 hours. And then a couple days later, I watched the theatrical cut. And then watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, both first 2 episodes. And then, I'm like, okay, I'm not giving this. I'm like, I had reserved my brain was already like, okay, I'm not going to rewatch the Snyder Cut ever again. It's a fine movie, but I'm not going to watch it ever again. And they're like, oh, and now it's in black and white. I'm like, okay, first of all, guy.
The audacity.
First of all, you overindulgent motherfucker.
Yeah.
They made such a big deal. Here was my big thing with the black and white version. They made such a big deal about the black Superman suit.
Yeah.
To make the film black and white, it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
It could be a hot pink and green suit now.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, look, here's the thing. Let's just talk about Black Widow real quick.
Oh, sure.
We got to get into this. We got to get into the movie. Otherwise, it's going to be 2 hours of me dumping, slam dunking NBA Jam style on Justice League Snyder Cut.
So the fine folks over at Disney
folks.
Mm-hmm. Fine folks. They seem to be doing a lot of things right over with their streaming service. Not that HBO Max isn't. HBO Max is kicking ass. They're like we mentioned off air. Top 2 fucking streaming services: Disney Plus and HBO Max.
I can't wait for Kong versus. That's coming out this week. Or it's out depending on
Space Jam is like a month away or something. The sequel to that. Sure. Apparently, everybody's like angry that they can't jack off to a cartoon bunny or some shit. I don't know. It's weird. The internet's just a horrible, horrible place.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, fine folks over at Disney have once again pushed back, but finally given some clarity to the Black Widow movie that has now been pushed 2 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it 1 or 2 years? It was supposed to come out last year, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to come out last year, and now it's been pushed to this year, and then it was supposed to be in May, and now it's in July, right?
Yes. The official release date came out with a brand new poster. Black Widow is now wearing an all-white suit, which is cool and interesting. It looks nice. I don't know if it's actually in the movie. David Harbour, my buddy, had some fun with it on his Instagram, I guess. But they've released a date of July 9th of this year, 2021. And Black Widow will be simultaneously going into theaters and also on the premiere access of Disney Plus, which means you can go to a theater and watch it, or you can pay Disney Plus an extra $30 and watch it at your home.
Sure.
I'm going to put it to you, Eddie. When you saw this, what was your first reaction?
I just want them to put this movie out. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I've been waiting for this movie. It's going to be good. Yep. It's a Marvel movie. So it's going to be good. It's one of the very few Marvel movies in this like phase 4 that is in the theaters, because a majority of them are Disney Plus streaming services. Sure. You know, because like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and then one more, Hawkeye, are all coming out this year. They're all part of Phase 4, and they're all Disney Plus streaming services. And so it's like Black Widow, Spider-Man, and then I don't know where we're cutting it off, but I think Doctor Strange is the last one in Phase 4. And so it's like, yeah, like this was the theatrical one. This is the big gun, right?
Right.
And so it's like I really want to see this, and it's disappointing when they keep pushing it off. And it's just like, look, it's 2021. We all know what we've been through, and everybody has dope TVs, so just release it simultaneously. Just do it.
Phase 4, at least according to Wikipedia, is a bit longer than you were thinking. So Black Widow is the first film in Phase 4. There's also Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, love the title, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Fantastic Four all technically are listed as Phase 4 movies.
Sure.
And that's
Phase
not even counting the TV
really
shows.
Long. Yeah, Phase 3 was really long too, because it's basically Phase 3 is everything after Ant-Man.
Right.
Like all the way through to Spider-Man Far From Home.
And then the TV shows, like you mentioned, WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, What If is included. Yeah. Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, you mentioned, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, the Guardians Holiday Special, cannot wait. Secret Invasion, Ironheart, Armor Wars, and Untitled Wakanda series. I guess all of that shit is going to encompass Phase 4.
Yes. It's going to be massive.
It's going to be massive, which, again, I'm all here for, especially the Disney Plus stuff. Now, when they said Disney Plus, what was your reaction? Are you planning to pay $30 extra to watch it at home, or because even if you change your mind by July, what was your initial reaction? Was it like, oh great, I don't have to worry about going to a theater, I can sit at home, pay $30, good? So
here's the thing: I love movie theaters. I love movie theaters a lot, and I have been waiting to pull the trigger on re-upping my AMC A-list, right? And again, for those of you who have no idea what that is the subscription service to AMC movie theaters. You see 3 movies a week, and it's $20 for the 3 movies a week. And
$20 a month, not $20.
Yeah, $20 a month for 3 movies a week. So, it's a pretty great deal, right? Yep. But the only problem is that with no movies being in theaters, it doesn't feel worth the $20 if I see one movie one week, one day a year, or one day a month, And so
this Friday you can go to theaters and see The Unholy.
I can see The Unholy, King Kong, and King Kong versus Godzilla. You know what I mean? So we're getting there. We're getting close.
There. Now, the tough thing about that, like you mentioned King Kong and Godzilla, the tough thing is like HBO Max isn't charging a premium. It's super easy to just wake up in the morning, have make your breakfast, cup of coffee, and go sit down and watch King Kong and Godzilla. I mean, it's all of their movies. That's basically how I've done them.
Yeah.
And again, they've made it super easy because it's like I never would have gone to the theater for Tom and Jerry.
No, never. But I would go to the theater for Godzilla versus King Kong.
Sure.
And and the problem is that when movie theaters first opened in Massachusetts back in like October or something, I went
in the dark ages.
Yeah. Well, no, I guess it wasn't then. I forget when it was. I needed to get it out of the house. And so I made the very poor decision of going to see the 20th anniversary of Inception in the movie theater.
Okay.
It was right before Tenet came out.
Yeah.
So whenever that happened, it was like a month before Tenet came out. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go. I'm going to see it. Like, I'm going to do it. And I just remember sitting there in the movie theater and just feeling very uncomfortable. I just felt very uncomfortable. I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like, it just everything about it. And again, this was like in the middle of the summer. So everything was raging on. I'm in a very different place right now. One, I don't give a fuck anymore. So we're gonna say that right then and there. And then I'm halfway through getting the Fauci ouchie, so I'm almost fully vaccinated. So especially by the time Black Widow comes around, I will have been fully vaccinated. And at that point, I don't give a fuck. I'll go see Black Widow in the movie theater. I'll go see whatever in the movie theater, because what was the point of getting the vaccine if I don't get to do shit like that anymore?
Right. Right. I basically couldn't agree more. I've gotten both of my shots, and it's almost a week now. A week on Wednesday will be a week of it. So I think that's when I officially can sign up for the X-Men. I get the training program. I wear the yellow jumper.
The danger room.
Yep. And I think Ajax is going to lock me in a tank and figure out what kind of mutations I have. So that'll be a fun way to spend the early summer. Sure. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's great for theaters, but it's at the same thing. I've read a lot of articles going the opposite direction because of even though it's premiere, even though it's an extra $30, even though people are getting vaccinated and going back out and doing things, the fact that Disney has basically decided not only Black Widow but Cruella as well to be premiere Disney Plus things, and especially Black Widow has kind of been their long holdout of we're waiting for theaters to get back to normal. It's a weird, almost telling thing that from the studio standpoint, there's not a lot of hope in people rushing back out to theaters.
Well, it also just shows you, because I don't know the numbers and I haven't looked at them, but it's just like I imagine that Raya and the Last Dragon did really well for them in the premiere access, because that's the tipping point, right? If we didn't get a lot of people that actually went out to see Raya and the Last Dragon, but we got a lot of people that just got it.
Because that was a dual thing too. That was theaters, right?
That was dual too. So, that was the real guinea pig. And so I would have to imagine that it was successful for whatever that means, but it was successful for them to be like, okay, yeah, we can do this with Black Widow. I mean, it also helps when you've been owning Fridays when it comes to Marvel content. And so if you just plow right through to July with, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, then it's just like, oh, I need to pay for this because, this Marvel content has just been so good.
Right. I've talked about this mostly with my brother, but Marvel was put in kind of a better spot than I guess other studios as far as being able to bump their movie, because Black Widow is for lack of a better term, kind of a prequel or a midquel. Yeah. It takes place after Civil War.
Correct. It's between Civil War and Infinity War.
So it wasn't, with the exception of probably the end credit scene, which I'm assuming is going to have to do with Florence Pugh's character somehow incorporating, because she's in the Hawkeye show. So I'm guessing, just a pure guess, that's going to somehow set that in motion. With the exception of that, they haven't had to worry about their storyline falling behind, because the storyline has been going forward with WandaVision and now Falcon and Winter Soldier. So because of where Black Widow falls in the actual cinematic timeline, they've been able to be like, we'll push it again. We'll push it again. We'll push it again. It's like if this was, the Doctor Strange sequel,
right?
You would have to get that out, because that's going to impact how the rest of the story is going forward, because it's a sequel instead of a prequel.
Right. It also feels like, Phase 4 has kind of not desynchronized, but it's like it's pulled everything apart just a little bit. So it's not as oh my God, while it all takes place in the same world and things are getting referenced and stuff, it's not like, oh, I needed to watch WandaVision to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You don't need to do any of that at all. They're both really good, and they're both referencing things that exist in that world because they do take place in the same world, but it's not intricate must-watch viewing because, I have no idea what the Space Stone is because I didn't watch this thing. So, eventually I think you're right. I think the tent poles are going to be the Spider-Man movie as well as the Doctor Strange movie.
Right.
But, other than that, I think, unless there's something specific like, Florence Pugh being in Hawkeye, it's like, we can keep pushing this until it needs to be a part of something else.
I mean, I also feel that it's like, now that, Endgame's over, Thanos has been defeated, that chapter of this story is done. It's almost like starting with Phase 4, it's almost like going back to Phase 1. Now we're, everybody's splintered off. You know, the Guardians are over here, Thor's over here, and Spider-Man's over here, and now we're going to keep telling their stories, and then we're going to work back. And I bet at some point we'll start to see the conversion and start to see the formation of the next big bad, the next Thanos. That is going to bring us all to whatever Avengers 5 is going to be in, you know, Phase 5 probably.
Yeah, because the big one to me, when you list off Phase 5,
we're going to get the Justice League, but we're setting up how an actual cinematic universe takes place. How storytelling takes place.
Right, because basically looking at Phase 4, the big thing, like when you look at like all the other phases, it's just like, oh, you earmark the Avengers. Those are the big blips. Secret Invasion is the big one where it's just like, oh, that's what we're building towards.
That's whatever TV series,
right? Which is way better. You're gonna tell me you're gonna tell like a 15-hour story over like a month and a half? Yes.
Hey, Zack Snyder would do it.
Oh, Zack Snyder, he just saved. He saved everything. You know, he saved cinema with the Snyder Cut. Fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it. I got thoughts.
All right, let's do the Zack Snyder's Justice League.
The bell's been rung. Out in the dark, among the stars, the god is dead.
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't wave the red cape at it.
You were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your life, find out what that reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Okay, so we are going to be referencing both the theatrical and the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So I'm going to run down the business of both right quick. The theatrical version of Justice League was released November 17th, 2017. Had a budget of $300 million. It came back from the box office with $657.9 million. That's shocking. It didn't make $1 billion. Legitimately. It was written by Chris Terrio and screenplay credit Josh Whedon. Story by Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder. It was directed. This surprised me on rewatching the theatrical cut because Zack Snyder is credited as the director of the theatrical Justice League. I forgot. I've only watched it once. And that fucking surprised me because we've been saying all along, rightfully so, that this was Josh Whedon's version of Justice League. Yet he's only credited on screenplay, which surprised the hell out of me. Stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Jeremy Irons, Diane Lane, Connie Nielsen, J.K. Simmons. The Snyder Cut, a.k.a. Zack Snyder's Justice League, as it was billed, and as you find it under the Z's if you're looking on HBO Max. Not in the J's, under Z's.
Okay.
It had an extra budget of $70 million more. It was released on HBO Max March 18th, 2021. And of course, the same screenplay writer, except no Josh Whedon. Chris Terrio was a screenplay writer. Story, same thing, Chris Terrio, Zack Snyder. Will Beal is also credited on the story of this one. This one is obviously directed by Zack Snyder. Stars all the same people with the additions of Jesse Eisenberg, Jeremy Irons, Willem Dafoe, a bunch of other fucking people are in this movie.
Sure.
All right. One sitting, multiple sittings. How did you watch the Snyder
One
Cut?
sitting.
One sitting. Same here.
And so I do want to say this and get this out of the way before I tear this movie apart. I'm really glad that, Zack Snyder was able to go back in and make the movie that he envisioned prior to the tragedy happening with his daughter and her death and having to step away from the process. It's really sad. It's a really unfortunate circumstance. I'm really glad that he was at least able to see his vision come to fruition. I will say that I, for the most part, enjoyed both Justice Leagues. I had higher expectations for the theatrical cut than I did the Snyder Cut. But
you mean the hype didn't grip you?
The
for 2 years?
Yeah. Well, I've basically talked on this show for years about how stupid this is.
Yeah.
And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Careful. Similar reaction. I made a very simple post after watching it on social media because I knew we were going to be talking about it on the show. And the post was, it's a good movie. I feel like I should be prefacing that with, it's a fine movie.
Sure.
I was not bored for 4 hours. I watched it. It was fine. The pacing was fine. A lot of my problems with the movie have little to do with the movie, more to do with the handling of DC, the fact that it's an extended universe, and where this falls within the realm of that.
Yeah.
But secondly, also, it's a Zack Snyder film. This guy just can't make one fucking movie ever in his life. He has to always have an extended cut and this and that. Oh, don't worry, the director's cut. It's like, guy, why can't you just make a fucking movie? That being said, it's probably, with the exception of the Dawn of the Dead remake, which funnily enough was written by James Gunn, this is probably his best movie.
Sure.
I was not a fan and really wasn't. I wasn't a fan of the theatrical cut. Still not after rewatching it. And going into it, I really wasn't amped because of what Batman v Superman was.
Yeah.
Which, again, needed an extra cut to explain things. And again, every time he does this, and we covered Sucker Punch, which is his, that needed an extra cut. Every one of his fucking movies needs extra cuts. And when he's doing the press for them, and he's always bringing up these extra director's cuts, extended cuts.
Yeah.
You end up watching them. We do, us movie people, because, of course, they're there, and we have to talk about them and shit like that. And it never makes the movie better.
No.
All it does is explain certain plot points. Like the extended cut of Batman v Superman, it explained a few plot holes. It was still a shit movie.
Yes. And that's how I feel about this, where it's like the Justice League theatrical cut. So I'm promised, right, when HBO Max says that the
By the way,
Snyder
we're doing
cut,
spoilers. It's a fucking 5-year-old movie or whatever, 4-year-old movie.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Because people have asked me, when they've been like, "Oh, did you watch the Snyder Cut?" It's like, "Yes." It's like, "Oh, should I sit down and watch it? It's 4 hours."
I hate when people ask me that. I really hate that.
I do too. But basically, the answer that I've been giving everybody has been the same. Did you see the original Justice League? And they were like, "Yes, I did." Then I said, all you need to do is watch the last 30 minutes of the Snyder Cut, because they change a couple of things in there, and there's a very cool scene at the end that's really awesome. But going into those final 30 minutes, that it sets up a bunch of crap that we're never going to see.
Never going to see. That's a major problem.
And that's the major problem. This movie, like Zack Snyder's biggest problem, and I talked about it with Sucker Punch, and I've talked about it with every single movie that I've ever seen him make. He is horrendous with pacing.
He's not a good filmmaker.
He's not a good filmmaker because
I went over this. I did another podcast last week, actually, right after it, with a friend of mine, Zach. We used to work in radio together, and we kind of went down his IMDb trying to figure out why he's a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess we went back to that Dawn of the Dead was kind of popular, and then 300 kind of made him. That kind of gave him the made man status, and that's where we are today. But it's like, he's not a good filmmaker.
No, he's not. And that's the problem, because the problem is like, and I've seen this, right? It's something you learn in film school, right? Is
like the fact that you needed 4 hours to tell this fucking story proves that you're not a good filmmaker. Get it down to 2, bro.
You also didn't need 4 hours because, and I've seen it joked, and I said this while I was watching it. It was just like, everything's in slow motion. So much shit in this movie is in slow motion that 1 didn't need to be. Right. 2 takes away from the actual fast character that you have in this movie. And
that is a major point, because okay, so one of my problems with this that kind of plays into that is, with the exception, like, I know the Flash runs fast, but I don't know the rest of his powers. I get Superman because we've had enough Superman in our lives, and I get Batman because we've had enough Batman in our lives. I don't really know the others' powers, so when I'm watching this, and all of a sudden everyone's going super slow and Wonder Woman's watching bullets go by, I'm like, does everybody have Flash power?
Basically, that's the problem. Like,
because I was honestly confused as a viewer.
Yeah. So this is just a DC issue. This is just like a DC problem, is that Wonder Woman has super speed, Superman has super speed, the Flash has super speed.
What about Aquaman?
Technically, he does not, unless he's underwater. Unless he's underwater. Okay. Batman does not.
Batman was fucking useless in this movie. Like, it became a running joke by the fucking third act. I'm sitting there yelling at my TV. All of a sudden, they're in the middle of a battle. I'm like, "Where's Batman? Oh, he's running late again? Jesus Christ! Oh, did he go fucking get his car, get another vehicle? Like, he was so useless in this.
He was, and that's again, it shows you.
And Affleck was great as Batman. That pissed me off.
That's part of the problem that Warner Brothers, as a rights holding entity, does not understand, because we've talked about how we're just going to make DC stories and all this other shit. And it's like, motherfuckers, you fundamentally do not understand the characters in which you are making these movies.
Right.
There is one of these people that is dark and brooding, and that's fucking Batman. The other ones are fucking chipper, happy fucking super friends. So get it together. On the other side, we have Marvel that is just knocking it out of the park, because they fundamentally understand the characters in which they are making the movies for.
Well, more importantly to that, yes, they do. And major problem with DC versus Marvel is DC doesn't have a Kevin Feige. The fact that I know Kevin Feige's name means that DC doesn't have a Kevin Feige, right?
Well, and it's also a problem when the closest person to that is Zack fucking Snyder.
Right, exactly. And you've given him power, you've taken away his power, you've shifted this, you've shifted. Like, again, I would be fine if DC just abandoned the expanded universe and did stuff like just tell one off story. If Zack Snyder wanted to go and make 3 fucking movies, let him go make 3 fucking movies. Don't try to connect it to Suicide Squad or to Joker or to Shazam or any of the bullshit. Let him make his little thing and then do something else. That would be fine. But they keep trying to pull threads, and it's like, oh, we need to pull this in, and we need to pull this in because we got to do what they're doing. And here's what Marvel, again, did right that DC didn't do, and which is why when we get to Justice League, it's all fucked up. They took 5 movies before the first Avengers movie to tell us what all the Avengers are going to do. This is their power. This is who they are. This is their backstory and their motivation. So when we get to the team-up movie, which this is, we get it. We know it. We have a connection to them. Now, I know you remember. I remember sitting in the theater when Endgame happened and that fucking team-up happened. I'm still getting chills in my back thinking of Captain America grabbing that fucking hammer and yelling, "Avengers Assemble," and the crowd went batshit as if their team just won the Stanley Cup. That doesn't happen in this movie because we aren't connected. We are not connected. You haven't given us a reason to care about the main characters. What? Am I supposed to be impressed because you can do a pan-up shot of 5 assholes in suits?
Yeah.
No.
So the difference there is no difference between the Zack Snyder cut and the theatrical cut, right? You learn
With
this
the
in
exception
pacing.
of the villains. The villains have done much better.
Yes. You learn this in film school, and this is something that Zack Snyder, for some fucking reason, has not been able to grasp. Like, you sit down and you write, because of course, if you're in film school, you're the one that has to write this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you go and you shoot your entire movie, and everything is precious. All of the footage that you shot is precious. And again, look, here's the thing. I'm an asshole that did that, right?
Sure.
And then what you learn is you learn how to tell a concise story to keep the plot moving and to keep things moving. And this movie, the 4-hour version, while there are several things that it does great, that it does way better and explains way more, it does 15 things that just undercut that, because it's like, you know what I definitely didn't need, and it didn't need to be in this movie, was you explaining to me and showing Bruce Wayne going over a mountain on a horse to a remote fishing village to try and find Aquaman, and then having him then be like, wow, there were no boats and no nothing that could get you over here. He had to travel by horse. And it's just like, oh, that didn't need to fucking happen.
Right.
We also did it in slow motion.
Yep.
So a sequence that didn't need to happen at all took 15 minutes. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, Zach? Also, you showed me literally every scene that you shot in this movie. And for every single time...
And then shot more.
Right, and then shot more. But then for every time that you explain to me, like, who Darkseid is and like why he left these boxes here, like, for every time that you do that, you
kind of felt like he just left them because he got his ass kicked, but that
was yeah,
all right.
Almost died, but whatever. But from every time that happens, you show me a scene in which Cyborg is sad because he's a robot now. And it's just like, you know, first of all, again, you have zero understanding of your characters, because that character he's not a Justice League member, right? Like, this is going to be super nerdy hill to die on, right? And I understand this, but it's like, to me, he's a Teen Titan, right? That's who this character is. And if you're going to put Martian Manhunter in this movie for 2 fucking scenes...
Also, dude was there and did
nothing. Yeah, he
just kind of sat on the sidelines and watched it all and was like, hey, Lois, why don't you go get back to work there, Chief?
Yeah. You know, hey,
what was that?
I also was sitting there looking at this because, like, immediately, she goes. And sees...
I didn't know who Martian Manhunter was, so as an audience member, I thought it was a bad guy.
Yeah,
when Martha Kent goes to talk to Lois and they have that scene and then she leaves and turns into this fucking alien, I'm like, oh fuck, that's a villain. Who is that?
Right, 100%. I knew that it was Martian Manhunter right away, but again, that's because I'm a fucking dork. Right?
I didn't know until 3 hours later in the movie.
Right, 100%. And
when he shows up in a post-credit scene that isn't gonna do dick.
Right, yeah, 100%. So then they do this thing where Lois is talking to Martha Kent, and then in real time, like not movie real time, but like In real time, maybe
Put
like
your watch to it.
the next day in that universe, she sees Martha Kent, right?
Yeah.
And in the process between her thinking she saw Martha Kent and then really seeing Martha Kent, Superman comes back, right? Sure. And so they've had a conversation about Clark. It's going to be real fucking weird when she references something from the conversation they had yesterday.
Yep.
And she's just like, what? What are you talking about? I've been here the whole time.
Luckily, we didn't show that scene.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, we didn't fucking need that scene in this movie at all. And then one scene that we didn't have in this at all was the scene, and I think it's in Batman versus Superman, when the Flash shows up and is just like, or was that in the theatrical cut? Basically when the Flash shows up and is just like, oh my God, Bruce, it's Lois.
The dream sequence, right?
Yeah,
that was in Batman v Superman.
Yeah,
and it's referenced
in this Snyder Cut.
And then, like, I guess it's supposed to take place in that epilogue nightmare scene that he added on to the end because Flash is wearing that same Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Okay, that whole scene, like, again, as an audience member who is going into these movies, again, that's fuck it, we're gonna keep comparing Marvel and DC because that's the world we live in. Marvel does a great job as relating to people like me. I am a movie-going audience member who has never read the comic books. I have no prior knowledge of the source material. So everything you're telling me about these characters and about this story is new. So assuming that I know that the Green Lantern that dies in that fucking scene is not the real Green Lantern, but there's a fucking army of Green Lanterns, I had to learn all this shit on YouTube this week.
Yes. Yep.
Like, okay, because I heard that, there's a Green Lantern in it. And I'm like, okay, well, the only Green Lantern I know of is that Ryan Reynolds movie that I never watched.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's this battle with Darkseid, and there's a bunch of 300 dudes that I don't really understand what they are, but I guess there's Zeus or Air or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
They're all fighting. Then all of a sudden, a Green Lantern flies over and starts doing. I'm like, hey, that's supposed to mean something. That's a green. I know the green and the symbol because the hurricane and all that other shit. And then he dies, and I'm like, oh, fuck me. I think that's supposed to mean something. Then I find out it means dick.
Yeah,
because there's like 1,000 of these fucking guys.
Right.
I don't know that. Going back to the nightmare scene, I don't know what that suit means. I do now because I've done YouTube research and all the nerds have fucking told me that, oh, that's the time travel suit. And I'm like, what the? Also, oh God, we're going to jump all over the fucking place. Yeah. But they go from the original post-credit scene from the theatrical cut, which is Manganiello's character talking to Lex Luthor on the boat. All of a sudden, smash cut, and he's on Batman's team. It's like, wait a minute, motherfucker. You were just getting ready to kill Batman, and now
it just shows how stupid this thing is.
And now you're backing him up with no explanation. Amber Heard is there saying that Aquaman's dead and Wonder Woman's dead, and I'm like, did I fall asleep or something? What the fuck is going on here? Robin is apparently a character. Harley Quinn's dead. And Batman said, fuck. That's what I got out of that whole end scene, and I'm really fucking confused because we're not going to get a payoff to any of it.
Right, because that's the problem. And that is the problem with this self-indulgent masturbation that we got. Because it's
it's a fine film.
Yeah. Because it's like, look, here's the thing.
If you have 4 hours, you're curious, go watch it, but don't expect to ever watch it again.
Yeah.
And don't bother watching it in black and white because the black Superman suit won't be effective.
Stupid. So fucking stupid. But we saw
Mad Max do it. It was cool.
Yeah, of course. Because like Steppenwolf in the theatrical cut is dumb. He's really dumb. And
they improve the bad guys.
Right, so they flushed him out a lot because I did like that, right? He went from being this guy that just like wanted to conquer Earth and all this other stuff to like, I'm trying to do this because I need to impress Darkseid.
He's basically, for lack of a better term, like a fallen angel.
Yeah.
He's basically the Bartleby and Loki from Dogma.
Right.
He's trying to do things to get back to his kingdom.
Right.
You know? And that makes sense to me. I got that. And because, again, it was surprising because I've only watched the theatrical cut once back when it was first released. And going back and watching it, the bad guys stood out a lot, especially because, first of all, Darkseid isn't part of the fucking theatrical cut.
Yeah.
So Steppenwolf is the big bad in that. He looks better in the director's cut.
Yes.
His dialogue is wildly better in the director's cut. Josh Whedon, that was another thing I noticed watching the theatrical cut. He added a lot of subtle sexual things to the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And even with Steppenwolf, like I took serious note of it when not just the fact that he awkwardly calls these boxers mother, which was just fucking weird. But anyway, when he's on Wonder Woman's planet, chasing the Queen, and he finally gets her, and it's not that he's like his intentions all of a sudden shifted from the box to and I remember the line specifically. He's like, "Queen, you will bow and love me. All of you will love me." And I'm like, wow, that's weird, really weird that you like took this female planet and now you're going to make it all about them worshiping you. That part was weird. There was also when Bruce Wayne meets Flash in whatever his fucking name is in his little lair there, and something that again jumped out at me was on the TV behind Bruce in the Snyder Cut. He's watching Rick and Morty, which, okay, it's a Warner Brothers property, synergy, but it also makes sense for this nerdy kid to be watching that
this
cartoon.
Barry Allen to be watching this.
In the theatrical cut, it's some weird, sexy Japanese girls in schoolgirl outfit pop group thing. It's very colorful and lots of tits and shit. And I'm just
it's like
and I'm
anime porn.
It stuck out because I'm just like, that is weird.
Yeah.
Why would he be watching that and not masturbating?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in all seriousness, like that made like there was weird little subtleties like that where I'm like, oh, okay, so I kind of see people's problem. And then of course there was the Wonder Woman scene that Gal Gadot refused to even fucking shoot, and they had to get the body double when Barry Allen falls into her tits, and it's just like, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, and then that scene's still in there. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's weird. Like, okay, so this all makes a lot more sense now that we have the two to compare.
100%. The ending is better. Like the ending is way better because they fight Steppenwolf.
The real ending. Because that's another problem I have. This movie had a concise end point.
Yes.
And then he's like, no, 30 more minutes.
Yeah, 30 more minutes.
That isn't going to make sense.
Yeah, because so the Snyder Cut version, basically Superman shows up and beats the bag out of him. Now, this is my problem with both Justice League movies, because in this regard, they are exactly the same. Mm. The problem that I have with, like, in the comic book version of this universe, right? Everybody is like, look, if there's a problem, we got to go to Batman. Batman is going to figure it out and he'll solve it. If that requires Clark showing up and punching something, it does. But Batman is going to be the one that's going to ultimately figure out what we need to do to make this happen. Even though he is just a man among gods, he is probably the most respected out of all of them, right? Okay. And in these movies, they do not treat Bruce Wayne that way. They do not treat him like he's a joke. He's a literal punchline in the theatrical cut, and he's just slightly better in the Snyder Cut. But in both movies, it basically results to like, oh, well, we're fucked. Oh, you know what would really help if Superman was here? We should like try and figure it out, because otherwise we're fucked, guys. Like,
and
oh my god,
Superman shows up and he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole. The Snyder Cut, because everything is in so slow motion leading up to it, the moment where the Flash is running around him and his eyes shift to look at him, far less impactful. Far less impactful. In the theatrical cut, we don't see as many people moving in slow motion. Right. So that moment hits a lot harder. And that just shows you that Joss Whedon is a better filmmaker than Zack Snyder, because he understands how to create a moment like that, and Zack doesn't. But it's just like, I'm looking at this movie and it's just like, oh, we need Superman. Oh my God, we need Superman. And it's just like, two of you are the DC Trinity. Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman are the three biggest heroes in DC Comics. And you three should be able to figure out literally fucking anything. And if two of you are there, no fucking problem. And both of you were like, well, we're fucked. Superman's not here. We're fucked. And it's just like, oh, get the fuck out of here. At no point.
But the way I think they tried to explain it is basically like Superman, when he's alive, scares the mother boxes into hibernation.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he's so big and strong. He's such a big, strong man that
you saw it literally in this movie. He's Jesus.
Yeah. Yes. But it's just like everybody is just scared of Superman. And it's just like, that doesn't feel good. As a fan of DC Comics, that doesn't feel good.
Right. And on Superman for a minute, the black suit thing, which was a major deal, especially in the marketing of all this. Again, this is a 4 fucking hour movie and nothing was explained.
Yes.
It was just in slow motion. Everything was just slowed down. And that was another thing that I noticed rewatching the theatrical cut after the Snyder Cut is the scenes that remained, Zack Snyder's scenes that remained in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
They worked in the shorter versions.
Yes.
Like that was my major takeaway. I'm like, oh, okay, this scene is also in the Snyder Cut, so this must be original footage. And then it's like, it's 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that still fucking worked. I got all these same information. I'm moving on to the next scene now. But as far as the black suit goes, it's like there was that. They took no time to explain the importance of it. It just feels like it was put there to look cool. Now, the nerds on YouTube have told me that it's actually basically it's a healing suit or a rejuvenation suit. So the fact that Superman was resurrected, he wore that black suit because it pulls the energy from the sun faster to him to heal him quicker. And that was why when he's resurrected, he goes straight up in front of the sun like Jesus. No, I get it, but I'm sitting here explaining what Zack Snyder couldn't fucking take 2 seconds to explain. Instead, he needs to show Superman walking down a hall of suits, hearing fucking his two fathers talking bullshit in his ear, and never once do they say, hey, use the black suit. It will rejuvenate you quicker. That's all I fucking need, pal. That's all I fucking need.
Oh, yeah.
But like, the fact that I had to turn to YouTube to get that answer, because otherwise it's just, oh, he showed up in a black suit. Cool.
Yeah.
He just wanted to look cool is what we got out of that long fucking 4 hour movie. Not the fact that the suit actually served a purpose.
Right. The whole thing is, and I mean, it's such a stupid thing for something so simple. It's like Superman gets his power from the
scene was so fucking long. Why couldn't you have that be a narration instead of fucking, I don't know, Clark, fucking John Kent, or whatever the fuck Kevin Costner's name is, mumbling some bullshit about you're basically doing fucking Spider-Man's uncle, great responsibility speech.
Yeah, right.
Tell me what the suit does.
Yeah, stupid. Well, it's just like he's powered by the sun. Yeah, he's gonna wear black because sun goes to like black more. Like, yeah, great, perfect.
I'm sorry, but I don't have that knowledge as a moviegoer. So you just having him raise up to the sun like fucking Jesus just makes me go, oh, that's a fucking shot.
Yeah, yeah.
I get it. Superman can fly, but
there are so many DC stories that Superman is a part of, right? That
I think so.
And I'm talking about like the big crossover ones. I'm talking about like big crossover things that just aren't resulting in him like, oh, we're gonna just put you over here and hopefully you can make it back to the big battle at the end, and if you get there in time, you'll be able to save the day. Well, that's all.
They were so worried and they needed Superman so bad that they literally go through the whole fucking Pet Cemetery thing, which, by the way, that joke was taken out. I guess that was Josh Whedon's input, which, again, made sense to why he was an asshole. But
right.
They went through that whole process. They get their asses kicked. He fucks off to the farm, and they're just like, all right, next plan. So, wait a minute. No. That was your move.
That was the plan. That was
nobody want to go check out the farm.
Yeah, that was the plan.
He scooped Lois and fucked right off. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, right. Like you, and so that was just.
I hope Cyborg has fixed the plane.
Yeah, right. I hope he figured out how to fly the plane. Like, oh god, stupid, so goddamn stupid. And then it's just like, okay, so you kill Steppenwolf in front of Darkseid,
right?
And the his head goes rolling in there, and the portal closes, and then it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna take my time now. Even though this thing that I want is on this planet, I'm going to undeterminedly wait to come here because Superman's alive.
Well, that's also just, big bads in these movies. I mean, come on. How long did it take fucking Thanos to actually do his own job instead of sending Loki and his daughters and every other fucking asshole while he just kind of sat up on his space throne being like, oh, I guess that one didn't work. Next.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even though in the post-credit of, I think, Ultron, he did the, I guess I'll do it myself thing. It's like, dude, it took you 18 more movies to show up.
Yeah, but at least when he showed up, he had like 4 stones.
That's true. That's fucking true.
You know what I mean? Like, we show up in Infinity War, and this asshole's just like, I need 2 more. Like, I need 2 more. And it's just like, oh yeah, no, you definitely were like, I'm gonna go get this myself. And then the next time we saw you, you got it yourself.
Like
so
if we learned anything from the 24 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, minions can't be counted on. They will all die.
They'll all die. But this, and it's just like, okay, so like, yay, everybody's back and we're totally okay. It's gonna be real awkward when Clark Kent shows back up to work after they thought he was dead.
I mean, in that epilogue, that he seemed to do that. He was Clark Kented up.
Yeah, he just went back to work.
Yeah, hey, I'm back. I'm alive. Don't worry about it.
I was on the farm. Did something happen? Like what? What? Me and Lois, we were on a honeymoon or something. She wasn't at work. I wasn't at work.
Well, that's the other thing. So. Again, a lot of my information I had to go seeking out. The movie didn't tell me these things, which I guess if you read enough interviews with Zack Snyder, these things would have been revealed in Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. He had a blueprint for 3 movies, which fine.
Sure.
But the fact that we're not getting him paid off pisses me off that you were teasing, especially the ending. Like, I get it. Setting up the pregnancy test in Lois's apartment. That's something that wasn't overtly teasy while still being teasy.
Sure.
Okay, fine. Leave that. If it doesn't get paid off, no big fucking whoop. It's not like having the Joker in the fucking last scene. But what I guess I figured out, and again, the movie didn't explain it very well, was in that in Cyborg's vision of the future, there's the shot of Superman holding a burnt up corpse as Darkseid's standing over him.
Yeah.
I didn't know until the nerds told me that was fucking Lois.
Okay.
He was holding Lois's dead body.
Yeah.
And if there was why would you hide that from the why would you expect me to know that? Because that would have been a huge impactful thing because this whole thing, Lois is the key, was the theme of the movie. All of a sudden, if there's a shot of Superman holding her dead body, that would have hit me.
Yeah.
But the fact I had to find out 2 days later in a YouTube video is like, oh, I guess that kind of makes some sense now.
Because again, this is the man that made a movie where there are multiple realities happening all at once. And the one that is most important is the one that we spend the least amount of time in. And you can hear me dissect and rip that movie apart in our Sucker Punch preview.
Yeah.
In our Sucker Punch review. But this man doesn't actually understand how to tell a story, right? So again, I go back to my film school days, And the problem is like somebody will make something and something like that'll happen, right? Like there'll be like a burnt corpse and you'll see the, oh my God, like in the flashback vision of the future thing. Right. And then somebody will be like, yeah, I didn't get it. Like, I don't understand. And the
like if it's just a burnt body to be a burnt body, fine. But this was an important burnt body.
Right. And so the problem is that the creator then gets all mad and bent out of shape because they're like, well, you see, this is what that meant and this is what this meant and all this other stuff. And it's just like, look, here's the thing that you need to understand. I haven't been living with this for years, right? I haven't been writing this for years. Right. So you know, like you mentally know what these things are and what they mean, but you need to realize is that you're presenting them to an audience that doesn't know this, that doesn't know this story. I'm good. I don't know where you're going, Zach.
And some of us don't even have the comic knowledge.
Right. Well, it's weird because none of this is like, I can tell you for the most part what a bunch of the Marvel MCU movies are pulling from.
Sure.
None of them actually pull one-to-one from anything.
Right.
But they have heavy influence in certain stories.
Sure.
I can't really tell you what this Justice League movie pulled from. Maybe it's just my knowledge of not really knowing Justice League all that much. Mm-hmm. Or like knowing DC like history all that much.
Sure.
But it's just like, man, I don't know. Like, it felt like you were just telling your own version of this, which is fine.
Just fine.
The problem is that you are now just being like, yeah, this is what I did. This was my movie. And I'm going to tease a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make sense. And we're never going to see it.
Right.
And you're just going to have to live with that.
Right.
And shame on Warner Brothers for that.
Well, and that was kind of the thing. And again, it's the more interviews I see Zack Snyder do, the less I like him as like a person.
Sure.
Like one of the ones I saw a lot this past week, heavily influenced, was heavily talking about the nightmare epilogue scene, the last scene of the movie,
sure.
And
which it's the best thing in the movie.
Well, it's the only thing new. Really, with the exception of how they changed the villains, this is really the only new thing. And Warner Brothers didn't want it. Warner Brothers did not want him to film it. And he's literally been saying in interviews, yeah, they told me not to film that. I did it anyway. And I'm like, that's why, like, that's why you're not a good filmmaker. Like,
right.
I'm not saying you have to go, like, you shouldn't, convince the studio against things. But look, they're giving you $70 million to go tell your 4-hour fucking bloated story of a comic book movie, and then they have like one thing. He's like, they gave me one note, I didn't follow it. That was basically his thing. I'm like,
right,
wow, man, that is like, you are literally like the definition of ungrateful.
Yes, yeah.
At least that's how it comes across in these interviews to me.
Right. And here's the thing: it's going to be real awkward when eventually I have to work with Zack Snyder and there's just all of this audio of me just dumping on him. And I think that it's going to be a really fun time when that happens.
That'd be wonderful.
It's going to be a really fun time when I have to answer those questions.
Look, Zach, the podcast is kind of like pro wrestling. We're putting on an act here. Don't worry about it. We're actually
But it's just guys. Like, you're not good at this. You're not good at this. Like,
to help you.
Well, fuck it. I don't care. I just
fuck it. Josh Whedon's probably hiring.
Yeah, but it's just like who would be perfect is Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith should direct a Justice League thing. He should be the guy that's in charge of the MCU. Or not the MCU, the DCEU, because he understands and gets it. right? And I didn't see those interviews. I didn't see those interviews that you just referenced.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was basically it. But that in a nutshell.
After I watch these things, much like when WandaVision was on, like I spend the week deep diving into all the YouTube videos and the reactions and all that stuff. And I got a few I go to because most of them are just shit. Yeah. But the ones I go to, that was like this a lot this past week was referencing that. But to Kevin Smith, I have to imagine it's weird to say, because he's a very successful filmmaker, but I feel Kevin has some sort of confidence problem with himself, because why wouldn't he?
I think it's the studio. I think if it wasn't Warner Brothers, like DC would have.
But it's like somebody has to give him, like, I feel like if Kevin Smith wanted to do this, he would get a shot. James Gunn got a shot. James Gunn was Trauma before Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, he's done other stuff, but I mean, these were a lot of them. Favreau as well. Favreau wasn't Favreau. I mean, he had done some stuff, but he wasn't the powerhouse that he is now. A lot of these guys, Taika Waititi's another one. It's like they've done these small things. They were working directors and kind of niche directors that were given this opportunity. So I feel like Kevin Smith probably has more clout than a lot of them when they started.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Maybe.
And I just feel there's something to that, because I know he's written it for the comics. You know what I mean? He's directed TV shows. He directed Superwoman a bunch. Yeah. And he's in that DC weird TV bubble. EU. I don't know what the fuck they call it.
Right.
That's another whole other issue, is there's way too many different variants of this fucking EU.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's another I remember a time when this originally hit theaters, I believe there was 3 different Flashes, because there was the theatrical, the CW, and the Netflix Flash, all at the same fucking time.
And that's not even counting the animated, because the best stuff that DC is doing.
I know about the animated.
So the animated stuff that DC does is the best stuff that DC does.
Sure.
That, like, if you watch any of their cartoons, they're the best. And they're fantastic at it. But it's just like, maybe he's, I pull Kevin Smith out as like the tentpole, just the first guy off the top of my head. Because you might be right.
I agree with you. I just feel that I think it's more him than them. I think if he wanted, he would at the very least have a shot, especially now. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know what the fuck they're doing now.
Yeah.
But the bitch of it is, the DC is very good at giving hope.
Right.
Because like right now, as much as we're dumping on this portion of the DCEU, and as we have in the past, I mean, you can go listen to fucking Suicide Squad fucking review, and your takes on Joker are all, they're not awesome. But I can't wait to see James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Oh, that movie looks fantastic. And the problem is,
I can't wait to see The Rock's Black Adam.
Yeah. 100%.
I can't wait to see the Peacemaker TV show on HBO Max.
Or the Robert Pattinson Batman.
That Batman. I can't wait to see all that. I just want them to, like, I don't know.
Together. Well, the problem is
figure out what they are.
They need to figure out what they want.
You can't. You clearly can't just follow Marvel's blueprint. That's been proven. You've tried to jump to the finish line instead of starting the race. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the problem, is at this point, if everybody wants you to just follow the blueprint. Everybody wants you to just start over and do the blueprint, right? Because the problem is that you did 2 movies, and really you were like, okay, so we're going to do 1 Superman movie, and then we're going to do Civil War, and then we're going to do the Justice League. And it's just like, oh, wait, hold on. Like,
we don't know who these people are.
We don't know who any of these people are. You, at the end of Batman versus Superman, showing me the Flash, not in costume, push over a guy at a convenience store, doesn't give me any backstory or hope or connection to Ezra Miller as Flash, because over here on TV, I've been watching Grant Gustafson crush it as Barry Allen, and I would much rather have him a part of this.
See, I haven't watched the show, so I have no reference of any of that. I did I liked Barry Allen in this probably more than any other character. I think mostly because, in a very, like you said, dark and brooding cast, he was kind of quirky and fun.
Yeah.
Like just the little aside lines and stuff like that. I had fun with the character. I still didn't really understand it. And I still don't really understand, like, what was his rule that he broke? He kept referencing, I need to break my one rule. And I'm like, and then he just ran fast. Things went light. And then what needed to happen happened. I'm like, what did he do exactly? Because there was one point where I think it was towards the end where, like, I think he reversed time. Because all of a sudden Cyborg kind of reassembled, and even like there was a skeleton for a second, and the skin came back on the face, and like very briefly.
Yeah,
but I'm like,
he ran so fast he changed time. Yeah, he changed time. It was like Superman.
That was not clear. Like in the Christopher Reeve Superman, he literally flew backwards and the Earth spun backwards. It was hokey as fuck, but I got it.
Yeah, it was the same deal.
He turned back time. This was just lights and slow-mo, and I'm like, what do we watch? What's he doing? What is he doing? You can't just say I have one rule and then not tell the audience what that rule is, because we'll be sitting there for the next 5 minutes going, what the fuck did he do?
Yeah. The whole thing was, it's just,
also,
again,
so Wonder Woman can do the same thing as he can?
She's not as fast. Like, the thing is that,
but she can slow down time.
So she's extremely fast. She's just not as fast as him.
Because that I liked her action scene, and again, it was very abridged in the Whedon cut. It still worked. I liked the action, extending that scene. I was fine with it. It was a good fucking scene. But again, it confused me because I don't know her powers. Because again, she's been a problem. Her character has been a problem for a number of reasons. Because every movie she's in seems to display her with a different set of powers.
Yes.
And none of them match up, and they're all in different timelines.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, because again, this is my problem with...
Like, she gained powers in 1984 that she didn't have in 2017.
Right. This is the problem. Like, I watched Captain America and the Winter Soldier the other day because I was so hyped on Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Which is super fucking good, by the way.
Which is so good. I mean, that's the polar opposite of everything we're talking about. Dealing with racism and post-traumatic stress in, like, such a real and raw way.
Too.
So good. Fantastic.
I was like, they're going there, and they're going there very well.
Very well. See, because basically what Marvel
like, it doesn't feel like shoehorned for the cause. It was like, this is very good.
This is amazing.
Like,
and there's real emotion. Like, that's the thing. Every single, like, all right, so here's the problem. The problem is that I've watched it's really stupid and weird because I've watched one Wonder Woman movie that takes place before the Snyder Cut.
Right.
But then I've also seen a second Wonder Woman movie that chronologically is supposed to take place before this Snyder Cut. Right? So they don't have any sort of, they have no idea where they want to be, where they want to go, and how they want to, like, tell an actual story and, like, connect all of these dots. They just want to be like, Wonder Woman, you get it, right? All right, great. Because
no,
it's like,
I don't.
Yeah. Because you're 100% right. In the
last time we saw her, it was fucking what's her name who showed up in the end credits scene, and that was like 1982.
Yeah,
Linda Carter.
Linda Carter. Well, that was a different woman.
Fuck you! No, is it?
Yeah, that was a different woman.
We're not even the same. That's not even the same. Like, Wonder Woman isn't Wonder Woman.
No. So okay. So
see, I thought Gal Gadot was just. Linda Carter rebooted. I thought it was like a wink and a nod type of thing.
Linda Carter,
like Bruce Wayne has always been Bruce fucking Wayne.
So remember,
just different guys.
Remember in 1984? Remember in 1984 when she wore that gold armor and they were like, this was the armor. This was the armor of the Amazonian that, like, protected us to get away from man.
Not really, but that movie was a mess.
That's what it was. Linda Carter was the Amazonian that protected the Amazons to escape. So she was a completely different person.
Wait a fucking minute. So Linda Carter wasn't Diana.
was not Diana. She was not Diana in Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, but what about the TV show?
In the TV show, she is, but the TV show and the DCU are not the same.
I thought what you were saying was that Wonder Woman Linda Carter 1976 wasn't Diana Prince, but it was.
No, it was. Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
So Gal Gadot is playing the same character as the TV show from the 70s.
Yes, but not. The histories are not the same.
We went two different directions on that.
We went
okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of I didn't get the reference that the end credits Linda Carter was the gold suit thing. I just thought that was just a throwaway. It's some other fucking woman. Okay, we're all a bunch of gods. You're a god. She's a god. Whatever the fuck is god. Right. I just thought she was winking and nodding type of. Hey, remember me? I was a thing. Right. You know what I mean? Like they had Jimmy Olsen as the cop in fucking Justice League. You know, okay, you know, he's a guy. You know, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Kind of back on track.
Yeah.
Still doesn't explain why she doesn't know how to fucking turn shit invisible in Justice League.
She learned. She also could fly at the end of 1984. So she, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the problem with DC is that they don't have anybody connecting these dots. Now to bring it back to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, right? When they get the Hydra agent and they're interrogating him about what Project Insight is with the helicarriers and Hydra's basically going to just start murdering people. And he starts listing off people. One of them that's very overt is Doctor Strange. He's like, yeah, someone that Hydra deems a threat, like Stephen Strange. They also reference, and I forget which section of New York, but they were like, yeah, this Bronx sophomore student, like science student. And this was like, oh, you're referencing Peter Parker.
Yeah, sure.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, is that attention to detail?
Well, you went over this when you did the full rewatch of the MCU, and as have I, and we talked about it even off air, how like there's shit in like all these early movies that get paid off in Endgame. Right. Like they had and to your point, it's like there's such attention to detail there because there is, at the end of the day, there's one guy. There's a lot of creative people stirring in this pot, but there's one head chef in this fucking kitchen, and it's Kevin Feige, and he's keeping that. I mean, that's the reason they fired Edgar Wright,
right?
And brought in whoever ended up directing Ant-Man, because Edgar Wright was going so far off the fucking rails that they're like, look, this is where we're going. You're not going there. I appreciate your efforts, but you're not going where we want to go, and we have to go this way because this is not the tentpole movie. Avengers is a tentpole movie, and you're not heading towards Avengers. You're heading towards some other fucking shit.
Yeah, right.
Like, who the hell knows what the Edgar Wright cut was of Ant-Man? But my guess is it probably is what they wanted Quantum Mania to be, because I heard there was a lot of like weird quantum realm shit in that. And it's like we didn't get there till the sequel, and then really probably going to get there in the third sequel. So, but at the end of the day, there's that top guy who's keeping shit in line.
Yeah, and Zack Snyder is just doing whatever he wants, and it's like, so you're gonna go against what Warner Brothers wants,
right? And
you're just gonna film this other nightmare scene.
Yeah, because we can wrap up. We're getting there, so we can talk about this last scene and we'll wrap it up.
Because I think it's fantastic. I think the interaction between Joker and Batman is fantastic.
It's a beautiful scene.
But the thing that happens right after that is so fucking annoying, it's not even funny. And so, we smash cut.
So the movie ends.
Yeah, the movie ends, and they're like, oh, we got to prepare and get ready for Darkseid because he's definitely going to be coming. Right. And then movie ends.
we get the Lex Luthor scene.
Yes.
Where which was in the theatrical cut, shortened, obviously, but it's in there, where he's got the fake Lex Luthor in the Arkham Asylum, or they changed the name to, like, I don't know, Arkham for Happy Time Murders or whatever the fuck it is, and then we cut to his boat, where Manganiello's character is it what is it, Bloodsport or Deathstroke? This, like, him, Idris Elba, and Will Smith all share a very similar name, and I don't like it. Okay, so Deathstroke. So he's on the boat.
Fun fact, he's the character that Deadpool is based off of. Deadpool is Wade Wilson.
Mhm.
The Deathstroke is Slade Wilson.
Weird. Okay. So who copied who?
Marvel copied DC. And
fair
so when Deadpool first was like a character, he was a carbon copy ripoff of Deathstroke. That was what he was. And then basically they were like, yeah, we can't do this. Nobody cares about this character. So it's like, let's make him batshit crazy. And the rest
Probably worked out a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's on the boat. He gets Batman's real name, Bruce Wayne. I figured everybody knew. The guy's pretty obvious. Takes his fucking mask off every 2 seconds. Anyway, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go kill Batman. Great. Here's a bad guy. Here's a bad guy. We're never going to see this happen, but whatever. All right.
Yeah.
Smash cut. Wasteland, like Mad Max wasteland of a universe. Spaceships in the air.
Brings it back to the Batman versus Superman nightmare scene.
Exactly. Batman's in his trench coat, his sweet duster, even though he's still got his cowl, and he's got a gun. And behind him is the Flash in an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Amber Heard.
Yeah.
Cyborg with a trench and a big hunchback thing, which we find out later is just a fucking gun. And then Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Who's 2 seconds ago was tasked with killing Batman.
Yep.
So I'm like, because he's a little different looking. His hair is in a mohawk as opposed to he had a full head of hair on the boat. I'm like, maybe, and I'm like, and the cuts are so quick. I'm like, wait, was that a different guy?
Yeah, no, same guy.
And I'm like, wait a minute, was that? And then you keep looking. I'm like, that's Joe Manganiello. What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
First of all, that's the first stop of what the fuck is going on here. Did I miss something? And then we approach, and of course, we also the trailer, so we know we're approaching Joker, and the big laugh and all that stuff. It's Jared Leto.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about reach arounds, and Batman mentions that he killed Harley Quinn because Joker mentions that he killed Robin.
Right.
It's a good scene. It's a fine scene. I'm still a little lost because I keep looking over Batman's shoulder, being like, what is Joe Manganiello doing here?
Yeah, right.
And they reference that they killed Aquaman, they killed Wonder Woman, and I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't see any of this.
Yeah, right.
Where are we? What are the rules?
When are we?
And then all of a sudden, Superman shows up, but he's pissed off again.
Yeah, he's bad. He's bad Superman. And then Bruce Wayne wakes up and
right. Okay.
And it's just like, okay, cool. It was a nightmare. And so like, all right, fine. And then he walks outside and there's Martian Manhunter just flying there.
Who, as a film viewer, I've only seen him once. I've only seen him once and I thought he was a bad guy. And I'm like, what is this?
Right. So then he then talks to Bruce Wayne and was just like, yeah, no, I know I've been here the whole time and I'm sorry I didn't help, but I just want to let you know that like Lois Lane, very important, and shit's about to go down. So I'll help out next time. I got you next time, pal. All right, bye. Bye. And he just fucks off. And it's just like, that's the biggest travesty of all of this, right? Because you did this self-indulgent masturbation for a movie that I was promised to be 100% different, right? Now, the way that this movie was hyped and the way that, fans were talking about it, HBO was talking about it, Zack Snyder was talking about it, is that this was a different movie. Mm-hmm. It was going to be a different movie and it was going to like all of a sudden set DC on the same path that like Marvel's been on this whole time and it's going to right the ship. And then I watched it and it's the same fucking movie. You put a couple of different coats of paint on the things, but for the most part, it's the same movie. Like, you didn't change much. The things you added weren't like all of a sudden different. It's exactly the same thing he did for Batman vs. Superman, where it was like, oh, yeah, with a little bit more time, you were able to explain X, Y, and Z, and it wasn't as dumb. Yeah. But it's like, I didn't need this to be a 4-hour experience. I get it. You shot this movie to be an IMAX, and that's why we had to put it in like 4:3. But
that
But
aspect ratio.
fuck you, man. Like, oh, we need to have this in 4:3 because of Zack Snyder's vision. How
I love the explanation is because a lot of the characters. This was a real explanation again. Because a lot of the characters fly up and down, he wanted it to be more vertical as opposed to wide. Because in regular film, things go side to side. In my films, they go up and down. Boo.
Here's the thing, Zach. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like, do you honestly think that you're Akira Kurosawa here? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Justice League, presented by the Criterion Collection.
Yeah, like, are you for real? Like, what in the audacity of this bitch to come in here to, like, are you for fucking real? It needs to be in 4:3 because I shot this for IMAX screens, and then it's like, even though eventually it would be converted to 16:9 to fit on televisions and regular movie theater screens.
Here's the thing: I've been to IMAX movies; they're pretty fucking wide.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Like, you know
I'm
what?
sorry. Inception was filmed on an IMAX camera. It wasn't 4:3.
Yeah.
Talk to your producer, Christopher Nolan, who was credited on this fucking thing. I haven't seen one of his movies 4:3, and he loves IMAX cameras.
Yeah. Also, go fuck yourself, because Roger Deakins would have made this movie look beautiful, and you're just an asshole. And if you don't know who Roger Deakins is, look him up. He's like the greatest cinematographer ever. All right.
He's the correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the one that has been working with Tarantino in the last few movies, right?
Yeah.
Like Hateful Eight and stuff. Let me make sure. Did you say Roger or Richard?
Roger. Oh, fuck. Now you got me all.
Deakins.
Roger Deakins.
Let's go. Let's start there.
Did I say Richard? Roger Deakins.
Roger. All right. Let's see. Roger. I'll make sure it's the right fucking guy.
Yeah, he was the cinematographer on 1917.
No, he's a different guy, but similar in style. Yes, 1917, Blade Runner, Sicario. Yeah. Yes, he knows how to film movies.
He knows how to film movies. All right, that's basically the point. Yeah. And it's just like, and all of his movies show up perfectly fine on my television. Right. They show up fine, and they're beautiful. So
they're beautiful. 1917 was a gorgeous film.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Gorgeous film.
But and then again, it's just Warner Brothers also not having the balls to stick with something, right? They just want to make movies for the sake of making movies because, I think anybody who's actually honest will tell you.
Robert Richardson is who I was thinking of, is Tarantino's cinematographer. Yeah, he also worked a lot with it. He did all Oliver Stone movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think anybody that's actually an unbiased fan of comic books would tell you that DC has the more iconic heroes. But,
you mentioned this fact a lot.
So like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman are far better starting points for a movie than fucking Iron Man. Like, come on, man. But if you have somebody that knows what they're doing and knows how to tell a story and knows where they're going, because you watch Iron Man, you watch the first Iron Man movie, even the second Iron Man movie to a degree, they don't there's no connection. It was just, we're going to make a movie about this character. And it's not really until we kind of get to Captain America, like the first Avenger, that it's like, oh, we have a plan. And then it's Iron Man 3, and it's like, oh no, we really have a plan of where we're going. And it just feels like Warner Brothers is just kind of like what we were talking about right off before we came on, right? WWE Networks, or WWE sold the WWE Network to Peacock. And now Peacock is in charge of the history of the World Wrestling Federation. Cool. And if you look at it, if you had the WWE Network, ECW and WCW were very prominently featured. You could watch those old things that you might have grown up with and really, really liked. NWA, all sorts of. That's
why they were getting my $10.
Right. And now Peacock doesn't care about you because they don't care about pro wrestling. They just want to get the 1.8 million people that signed up for the WWE Network over onto Peacock because they just want those $10. So that's why they paid for it. And they're just scrubbing it because they don't care. right? And that's how I feel about Warner Brothers and DC. Warner Brothers doesn't care about the DC comic book fan. And they just know that you'll see a movie with Batman in it. So we're just going to keep making Batman movies. Fuck you.
I mean, again, I would have less of a problem with that if they just came out and said that. It's the half in, half out. Like, we're gonna make this Batman movie, and it's not going to be connected to the DCEU. But then we're gonna make these movies with the DCEU. It's like, stop trying to do everything.
Right.
Pick a fucking lane here, because you're fucking up your own product. You know what I mean?
You're half pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you just want to tell stories, just to tell stories, fine. Because the Nolan trilogy has nothing to do with any of these movies, but it's great.
Sure.
It's great. Like, I can go back and watch Dark Knight all fucking day. You know what I mean? The other two are good, but I can watch Dark Knight all fucking day. It's a great fucking movie. Okay. And it's funny that one, and then another one-off, which was Joker. I know you don't like it, but those two won Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Joker made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Again, this is your tentpole, and it made half that in the box office.
Because you didn't have a plan.
Before Snyder Cut and before all the bullshit, like Justice League coming out made half of what Todd Phillips' Joker made. Yeah. Which didn't have a lot of hope and promise behind it, by the way.
No.
Like it was, it was like, oh, this is going to be fucking weird, and then goes on to make $1 billion and Academy Awards.
Yeah. And now, before we get out of here, just to make sure I piss off everybody.
Sure.
Now there's the fan backlash. Get the fuck over yourself.
Which side of the fence?
So the fact that these fans, like, I could understand, like, throwing support into, like, the idea of, like, all right, well, let Zack Snyder finish, right? In theory, he has a plan for 2 more Justice League movies.
Right.
And it's like, look, here's the thing. If that's true and you want to do that, great. And I'm 100% on board to support that.
Here's the thing with that. This would be the perfect time for that, because that shit and the way he makes movies is made for streaming.
Yes. 100%.
He can go and make Justice League 2 at 6 hours and fucking Justice League 3 at 12 and a half hours and just throw them online. And that would be that. I mean, honestly, that's where Tarantino wants to go with Netflix, because he's going to be allowed to make his 5-hour cut of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and not have to worry about turning over box office receipts.
Right, 100%. And this was the thing, and this isn't the show to talk about it, but it's like, we touched on it with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. They're able to dive into really sensitive racial and, like, how we treat soldiers and, like, PTSD. Yep. And they're able to really go there because they don't have to round out the edges and smooth out this film project to get box office, to get random people to see it. No, it's on Disney Plus. You either have Disney Plus or you don't. You know what I mean? And whether you watched it, I don't care. It's on there. So they're able to tell a better, more complex, real story because of it. And that's the thing. If HBO Max wants to be the exclusive home for Zack Snyder's DCEU, I'm 100% on board with it.
I will watch them.
I need stuff to watch, and I need stuff to watch on HBO
we need
Max.
Shit to talk about.
Yeah. So, and again, I really like Jared Leto's Joker. I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think Henry Cavill is fine as Superman. Gal Gadot, 1984 aside, is crushing it as Wonder Woman.
The first Wonder Woman is probably the best of this current DC films that we have.
She's fantastic at playing the character, and I would like to see more. Jason Momoa is wonderful as Aquaman, but he's just a delightful person.
He's just wonderful.
He's just wonderful. Red gave him his own, like, steampunk inspired Komodo camera.
Okay.
He has a YouTube channel. Go check it out. He's like, it's like him making his own, like, short movies with, like, motorcycles and whiskey. It's nuts.
Did not know that.
Oh,
okay.
He is a wonderful person.
My evening is set.
It should be in everything. But you know what I mean? So there's that. Jesse Eisenberg is weird as Lex Luthor, but I'm into it. Joe Manganiello, or however, that D&D playing nerd, I fucking love him. He is amazing. So like all of the parts of this, I'm 100% in on.
Right.
So I would like to see more, but again, I want to see more with a plan. I just want you to have a plan. And then the problem that I have is the fan base feeling that they're entitled, and now they're like tanking the reviews of King Kong versus Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah, because and like all the reviews are like, 1 star. You need to bring back the Snyderverse, and it's just like
that's not how this is gonna work.
Well, and it's also like, hey, asshole, like, God, yeah, I know his daughter died. I feel real bad about that.
Sure,
but he is not Martin Scorsese. This is not Francis Ford Coppola. Like, get out of here.
No,
what
it's,
is it?
He prefers the 4:3 aspect ratio. Obviously, he's Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, you're right. Do it 127 times, bitch. Like,
yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, that's the problem. The problem is it's like, look, Godzilla versus King Kong is its own thing, and trying to make an internet cause out
when
of
does that come
this. Wednesday.
Oh, fuck! Great, perfect. Because again, I'm not a massive fan of either of the franchises, Godzilla or King Kong. I think we talked about it when we did Mecha Godzilla or whatever that one was. But again, the nice thing about HBO Max is I'm definitely going to sit down and watch that Wednesday morning.
Yes, 100%.
Like again, I probably, unless we put it on our schedule, would probably have never have seen the Tom and Jerry movie. But because they put it out, and when I turned on my HBO Max one morning, it was like, what the fuck? Let's check it out. That's where we're at now. And like, yeah, I will absolutely check it. And it looks fun and dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It looks fun and dumb. I love, and again, I know nothing about the comics, but even in the trailer of the Suicide Squad, they mentioned the kaiju, which I only know from the Godzilla thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's probably going to be fun and insane. Also, Stallone killing it as fucking King Shark just looks fun as shit.
Sure.
Again, there's so much hope for the DC universe, but it's called James Gunn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's the thing.
Go let him be your Favreau and have some fun with this fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, Shazam was a hoot. And I don't see him. I don't know what the hell part of the DCEU he is, but I heard, again, doing a little research while I was watching Shazam a couple months ago, I guess, like, they wanted Henry Cavill in it, but he flat out was like, fuck you, I'm not showing up to set. And I'm just like, how? That's a whole other thing with DC that kind of irks me, is like, how do you not have your actors kind of locked up?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, I remember when, I talked to Chris Evans on the TV show, and it was like, at the time he was releasing Ultron, and I was like, so how many more do you have? And he's like, they got me signed up for like 7 more, but I think they're going to end up having me for 9. And it's like, that moment,
Sebastian Stan, after Civil War, signed a contract for like 8 movies.
How does DC not, like, they just let Affleck fuck off? Henry Cavill apparently is done playing Superman.
Well, and
they're just letting their leads walk. And this is another major part as to why the EU part of it, the extended universe part of it, is falling apart, because there's no continuity.
Right.
There's
and
no
that's
fucking
the big...
and you want Affleck to play Batman, but then you also want to have Pattinson play Batman at the same time.
Well, and it's even more than that. It was Affleck was supposed to do the next one. Affleck was like,
I want to write and direct it.
I want to write and direct the next one where, Joe Manganiello comes and tries to kill me. Right? I want to do that. And Warner Brothers was like, no, we're going to have somebody else do it. And it's just like, motherfucker, I just won Best Picture. I am
an Academy Award-winning person. Have you not seen Argo?
I don't know. I don't know if you know this, but I have a Best Picture. I have a Best Picture Academy Award and a Screenwriting Academy Award. I don't know. Maybe I'm pretty good at this. Maybe I'm pretty good at this, and maybe you should. Maybe, I don't know, want me to do this.
For some reason, I just picture Affleck in the lawyer's office of Good Will Hunting, calling everyone nerds. Look here, nerds, as he's holding his 2 Oscars. I'm kind of good at this. You're kind of lucky to have me, and the fact I'm not giving you 40% of my effort, Why don't you just give me a movie?
and so yeah, that's why Affleck fucks off, because he's like, oh no, I'm gonna go make Gone Girl instead. Like, you assholes.
Yeah.
Like, no. Warner Brothers.
I'm gonna go make something that allows me to eat carbs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go be a suburban husband that maybe murdered his wife or something.
Oh shit! All right, is that Justice League?
That's Justice League.
Both of them.
Yeah. Also, I lost my shit when Bucky looked at Sam in the episode 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and said, if he was wrong about you, then he's wrong about me. And I fucking lost it. That acting in that moment was better than anything in the fucking 5 hours that I spent with Justice League.
Episode 2 was awesome. Like, there was just like so many, like, it was one of those things like, and we're not going to do Falcon and Winter Soldier, but the first episode, I think it was one of those things, like, I'm watching it being like, all right, when are we going to get these two together? Because they have amazing fucking chemistry that we've seen in past movies in fleeting moments. And it's like episode 2, they're together. I'm like, oh, this is comfortable. This is an old pair of socks. I like this. This is
everything
fucking great.
This is everything I needed to be. While also dealing with real world issues that
Seriously.
Zack Snyder's Justice League just couldn't fucking emotionally get me to.
Couldn't do it. You don't have me. So coming up next week, we haven't. I think. Are we gonna do Men at Work? Are we gonna have some fun and do Men at Work? Sure. I know I sent you the text early in the week, and it was one of those. I think I watched it a year ago when I was doing comedy movies in quarantine, because it's all started about a year ago.
Sure.
And I think it popped up on my Facebook memory, but it's just a fun, goofy ass movie with the Estevez brothers, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's either that or Godzilla versus King Kong.
We'll do that next week. Let's have some fun this week. Sure. That seems a bit too serious. We'll do that one. All right. So we got the next 2 weeks fucking planned. Coming up next week, the Estevez brothers in Men at Work. You're gonna hate it. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh, you're gonna fucking hate it. I love this. But here's the thing. It's not a classic. I'm not overly emotionally attached to it. It's just a goofy ass movie from 1990 that is kind of fun for 90 minutes. You're gonna hate it. I love this.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for joining us on That Movie Show. Mike Wendt, Eddie McCabe. You can follow us on social media at Mike Wendt, at The Eddie McCabe. The website is thatmovieshow.net. The Facebook page is facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. We are on every and all podcasting apps, so hit subscribe, rate, review, click all the buttons, share it with your friends, and we will see you back here next week for Men at Work.
Bye, everybody.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young